Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it. He hits it. It's over the bar. Oh, holy Moses.
Hello everyone and welcome along to the RTÉ GAA podcast. Shane McGrath is going to be with myself and Mikey, who, as you can see, has stepped into Rory's shoes for the weekend. And Peter Canavan is with us to chat football now. Before we talk about the weekend, let me just give you the headlines in terms of results. Armagh 123, Tyrone 18 points, Donegal 20 points, Dublin 16, Derry 124, Kerry 515, definitely one of the standout ones of the weekend. And the last game in Division 1, Mayo 16 points. Galway 26, which will definitely raise some eyebrows as well. Peter, let's start with, I think, what maybe a lot of people are calling the game of the weekend, Kerry-Derry. I was looking back over their last two meetings in the championship, and even though they were like tight scoring, where Kerry 15 points to Derry's 10 last year, the one the previous year where there was only 2 points in it, 117 to 115. I think it's the scoring that maybe it seems like these two teams, like this was a completely different game they were playing at the weekend.
Well, first of all, you're quite right. It was a brilliant game of football to watch from a neutral perspective, and you were engaged from the very start of it, and that lasted the whole way to the final moment. I think previous encounters they had, they were still good games. They were exciting, but there was long passages of defensive football in it where both teams had a lot of men back. What was different about it this time around, a couple of things in particular, because there were so many long kickouts from goalkeepers, I thought the standard of high feeling in the middle of the park was as good as I've seen for a long time. Dermot O'Connor, Conor Glass, Anton Tohal, it was superb. But the other feature of the game, which maybe their previous encounters didn't have, was the way both teams at times pushed up on the opposition. So the goalkeeper's not allowed to receive a ball in his own half. So that encourages teams to push up. And there was a spell, Jacqui, I would say, midway through the first half, and Derry had the ball in their cornerback position. Kerry had a high press on, and it looked as if Derry's going to be turned over here. It didn't happen in the first tackle, passed on to someone else again, a pressure on him right away. It looked as if turnover was on. Didn't happen. This went on for about 30 or 40 seconds inside Derry's half. Brilliant pressure by Kerry, but Derry held on to the ball, or Kerry held on to the ball, managed to get it out to midfield. They looked up, and because it's 3-on-3, there's plenty of space inside. They kicked the ball long. Another one-on-one battle inside. I think it was Dermot Baker was marking Killian Spillane. Killian won it, one-on-one, took him on, got a shot away, went wide. But that passage of football, just to me, it summed up what we want to see. We want to see pressure on the ball. We want to see chaos. We want to see one-on-one battles and forwards given the opportunity, and likewise man markers given the opportunity to shine. So it was like that the whole game. Brilliant to watch, and a brilliant finish to tap it off when Derry thought they were home and hosed.
Yeah.
Derry men came back at them hard and 2 goals to finish. So look, great game all around.
Yeah, it was great. And Mikey, I think Peter's right. The 12v11 is a direct consequence of the new rules. But I think teams are pushing up now because they're recognising this is actually how we win games. It's positive football. It's the one thing we all wanted. And I know there's probably some tweaks that we still need. I think it's brilliant, though.
Yeah. Kieran Whelan said it last week. He said he this is what he was hoping to see. He said he would hope that you would see teams pushing up and realising that, there's an opportunity here. You stop playing the game like you played it before the new rules came in. Stop dropping back. The whole point of the new rules is to be advantageous to teams who push on, who press, who try and put pressure on the opposition team in their own half. And the byproduct is what you're going to see is that there's going to be more space everywhere. And I think one thing that most people would like to see is this game is now a game where someone like Paul Geaney can come on and score 2 goals. That's exactly what people want to see from the likes of Paul Geaney. And I think a lot of people probably suspected these new rules will favour, they'll be good for Kerry because Kerry have the inside forwards to exploit the space. And this is the Kerry team without even David Clifford, and they scored 5 goals against Derry. It's like it's exactly what you wanted to happen has happened. And I do feel for Derry because it sounds like they kind of self-destructed in injury time, or whatever we're calling the end of the game now with the hooter. It's not injury time. But Kerry are exactly the kind of team who are going to exploit them. So we want attacking football, we want end-to-end football, and we want to see players like Paul Ganey able to come off a bench and make a difference. So it's like boxes tick, tick, tick on Sunday. It was brilliant to see.
It does seem, though, Peter, that not every intercounty manager is on board with it. You do still hear a lot of them talking at the weekend saying, maybe it's not fair that you can have a 12v11 scenario. But I think with any of these new rules, and you see it now in your position with the committee, where we do just maybe need to give it time. Like everything needs to be assessed, whether the risk and the reward is actually worth it. So maybe it's just kind of sit back and give this a bit of time.
Absolutely. Whenever you bring in major change, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be uncomfortable for some people, and it presents serious challenges. It presents challenges for players, first of all, because they're having to change the way they do things for a long time. It does present serious challenges for referees. And I know, speaking to some referees, by and large, I think they think it's a far better game and it's going to help them. It's going to make their game easier, but in the short term, it's not, because they have so much to bring on board, and the speed of the game, especially the tap and go. Whereas a referee gets time to get a breather, assess this thing, get a look around. He can't. The tap and go now means the ball's in play far more often. It's a more hectic game. The 3-on-3, his communication with linesmen and umpires, it's got to be greater than ever before. So there's a lot going on, but again, in the long run, I think the referees will appreciate these rules as well. And it also presents serious challenges to coaches, because the previous game, the rules we had, the way the game was going, it was making it easy for coaches to spoil the game. The spoilers could get away with it, and it benefited you to foul on a lot of occasions, to slow the play up on a lot of occasions. Whereas what I think these new rule enhancements, the more attack-minded coaches, the more innovative coaches, I think are enjoying this challenge, and let's bring it on. Let's get the best out of it. And again, it takes time for them to think things out. Already on Sunday, from the throw-up, the one-on-one, we've seen where Shane Walsh was positioning, and he doesn't normally play midfield. What's he doing standing on the sideline? They win the ball, he gets it, kicks over the bar. That's what he was doing on the sideline. So again, there's plenty of wee aspects of the game and tactical nuances that coaches and managers are going to have to take on board, sure. And that's exciting, and I think it is to the betterment of a game. But you're quite right. It will take time to bed in. It's not the finished product. There will be tweaks. There will be changes made, no doubt, before the championship starts. But as I said, without a doubt, I think it's for the betterment of the game.
Are you in the perfect position to offer up those tweaks? Because you started from the outside and now you're in the inner circle. So you've had enough people coming to you going, Peter, I'm not sure about this, or whatever. These are the tweaks I want. And then you go in and you say, right, I'm here to help master this plan.
Well, I have a lot of people coming passing on their expert opinion. There's no doubt about that. Look, I was sceptical of some aspects at the start. Absolutely, it was, and I voiced those concerns. The number of rules at the minute, and that still doesn't sit well with me, in that there's so much coming in that I think it can be accommodated at county level, no problem, because you have a good referee, you have 4 umpires and 2 linesmen. But what about club football? Bringing all this in, that's a completely different question, and a completely different set of challenges there. There was a few, the tap and go at the start, I was sceptical. I wasn't sure that this was going to work. It's obvious it's working, and it's obvious players aren't interfering, because if they do, there's a 50-metre penalty, and that allows the tap and go to take place. So whilst I would prefer if there was less in number to make it easier for referees and so on, I think every rule change and enhancement is very valid, and there's a very good reason for it. And as I said, it has happened our game. In terms of being in the FRC, I've got my eyes open there too, and the extent of the detail that Jim Gavin has put into it. He does listen to those on the committee. Everybody there has got a voice. Their opinions are taken on board, and every game and every aspect of refereeing decisions has been looked at in detail. to see what can be done to further improve it, to tweak things. So look, it's a very well organised setup, and I must say I have to commend him in the way that he has managed to lead the new changes in our game.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's given us a lot of exciting football. And Mikey, I think Peter's talking about innovation there. I don't know if there's a coach in the game that's more innovative than Jim McGuinness. And you look at, I think we were all kind of waiting to see what are Donegal going to give us. And, you know, no element of surprising that they came out fighting at the weekend. Really impressive win against Dublin. And I think they've shown us that they've been working away in the background at finding a new brand of football that's going to suit this team. I think we're going to see a lot of them in a successful way this season.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think even if we hadn't have brought in 50 odd new rules, Jim McGuinness was probably going to come with something different this year, because it's in his nature, and also he's now dealing with pretty much a full hand, not just Michael Murphy, but the number of other players who have come back in. So you would like to think that he would already have been looking at more of a kind of kick-based game, because it would have suited the players. He has some tremendous scorers of long-range points there. Like Donegal last year were pretty much playing that kind of, they were playing the kind of 2-point game when there wasn't 2 points. They were very much in favour of shooting from distance and making use of the players that they have. And so it's only going to benefit them more. But the other thing you get from Jim McGuinness is megaphone diplomacy, and he said, like, yet again he's setting the agenda. He came out with his line about 6 subs, and it's been picked up, it's been discussed everywhere, every radio show, every podcast, League Sunday, everybody's saying 6, no, maybe 7, and I'm or maybe we need the interchange, like Ozzy was. I'm a little bit skeptical about this one, because I actually think Peter might disagree, and people who played inter-county football would probably disagree with me, because obviously never played within an arse's roar of that level. But I think Gaelic football has been quite a sedentary game for the last 10 years or so. I don't think for the amount of training and conditioning the players do, that many were kind of doing the amount of aerobic exercise in 70 minutes that you would expect of them to be able to do. So to now go from that to now saying the game, like Brian Lacey saying the game's too long, others saying we need rolling subs, I'm not sure about that. And I don't know if you can blame hamstring injuries in February or the end of January on the new rules, as much as you can blame it on players playing Sigerson, players coming back after long pre-seasons, heavy pitches. So all for Jim McGuinness's tactical innovation, but I'm also, as a journalist, very, very happy that Jim is back on his soapbox, giving us all suggestions, because he's a bit like Donald Trump. He can lead the news agenda for a week quite comfortably, but I'm not sure I agree with him on this one.
Yeah, I actually think the point that he's making, though, Peter, is the wider element of what is the load that we are putting on players. And when Jim McGuinness speaks about this, it's because he has seen it firsthand. He knows what he's dealing with. He's got a lot of lads who are in that direct group. You have 2 of them in your household. You know what it's like. So give us a sense of what you think of his comments, and is there some merit in it?
Oh, I do believe there's merit in his comments, without. And again, we need more games to have the scientific information in front of you to make a really informed decision. But I think it's a no-brainer to suggest that the game with the new rules is faster. Players are going through more high-speed meters. There's no doubt about that. So for him to suggest that there needs to be an addition to the subs, I would agree with either that or to have rolling subs. And the benefit of the rolling subs is that the time referee doesn't have to stop play, subs can come on and off, which happens in other codes. But the downside of that is it's much more difficult to control. And I think we've already put a serious burden on the officials with the new enhancements without adding in this one. So maybe for the time being, it would be easier to introduce an extra sub, or for teams to play an extra sub. So
would there be a fear, Peter, just on that, though, that the stronger would get stronger? Because, like, let's just say a Dublin or a Kerry or, one of the counties that have access to more players like that, if they're suddenly able to bring on 25 players, that, Mikey, with no disrespect to Wexford, but like for a Wexford football team to be able to have that same level of substitute, I think maybe there'd be a fear that the gap could widen. I could be wrong now. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, those players are still training, Jacqui, bear in mind, and a lot of teams are going to have to drop players off. They can only pick 15, then 24. So there's players who are going to training and they're not even getting a jersey, not getting targeted. So the players are there, they are training, and I think they may as well be used. But look, the issue of, and it was Brian Lacey made the point, I don't agree with it. I see where he's getting at, because the games now are lasting much longer because the referee's making the signal to stop the clock. But I think as referees and officials become accustomed to the new rules, I think the communication process with them will be much quicker and swifter, and that will result in less delays moving forward, or at least we hope, because the games are much longer, I suppose, than we've expected.
Yeah. Tradition is everything as well, Mikey. If you suddenly go from a 70-minute game to a 60-minute game, you're going to have the cohort of people saying, we're not getting the same value for money either,
Yeah, no, I definitely think that. I like the bright, this is what Jim McGuinness does. Like, he starts a conversation, and next thing Brian Lacey's suggesting we go back to 60 minutes. That's not going to happen. I could see it going to 7 or 8 subs. I think the interchange thing is, I honestly think that's quite radical, mainly from an admin point of view, and to police it. And again, if we're talking about these rules seeping down to club level, how the hell can a club referee manage interchange? You'd have a repeat of the 2023 club final over and over again, but like selectors said, they've got 16 on the pitch, they've got 17 on the pitch. I can't see that. I think, and I know Peter and the FRC, they'll be doing this, will be looking at data, and they're not jumping to any conclusions. It will be interesting to see the GPS stats, and it'll be interesting. I think it would be interesting to compare them to what hurlers are doing at this time of year. Are footballers doing a whole lot more sprinting? Are they covering much more ground? Or, I'll go back to again, are they just doing more than they have been doing in recent years because of the game that football had become? And are these guys well able for it? Maybe I'm being very unfair there as someone who doesn't have to run 10K in 70 minutes. But I think I don't know if that's something you'd be doing, Peter, compared to hurling GPS stats or not. But
Hurling,
I wonder
no,
whether
geez, no, I definitely wouldn't be comparing that to hurling.
But I do wonder whether I do wonder if that's a fair comparison as well, because I would just go back to the fact that football for the last few years has been played in fits and spurts. Like, you get a 20 or 30 or 40-yard dash, and then the ball's held up, and there's a kind of game of walking football played for however long it takes to spot a gap. And I think that's the biggest change, rather than the length of time the ball's in play, personally.
Well, a couple of points there, Mikey. The first one about the 60 minutes, the way our game had been going this past 3 or 4 years, I would have been glad enough to see it reduced to 60 minutes. But when you have Kerry and Derry, if we're going to have more games like that, geez, it has to be 70. And the second thing about the extra load on the players, if with the 3-on-3 now, and having to keep 3 players back and having to keep 3 players up, if you don't change, if that's the same players that stand in there, those players are getting more of a rest, more of a break now than the old game. But I would imagine most managers are going to rest players at some stage. If you're in the middle 8 and you're up and down the pitch and going through a serious spell, then go inside and take your breather for 3 or 4 minutes, and then resume your normal roll back out again. So it's a way of counteracting that increased workload on players. And again, managers, with all the information that they're getting from their players and the GPS is on them, they will know at half time who has covered what and what high speed meters. So maybe they're smart enough to say, right, you're going to have to play inside here for the first 5 minutes or whatever. So again, good setups will deal with that problem of fatigue, I would think.
Yeah, more professional layers in an amateur game. Wait till that debate sparks again. Just to touch on a couple of the other games at the weekend, Peter, your own Tyrone involved in great game against Armagh. And you'd have to say, for the All-Ireland champions, I'd say, look, I know it's early season and it was hard to judge what we saw from them last weekend, but they definitely looked a bit off colour. They looked like maybe they didn't have a lot of work done over the winter, which is par for the course when it comes to an All-Ireland champion. But I think what we saw was probably a bit of a response from them at the weekend. Nothing like the sight of a Tyrone jersey coming in to get the pulses flowing for them too. Yeah,
well, if you had told me that Tyrone was going to score 19 points before the game, I probably would have took it, believing that we'd win the game. But I was working down Salt Hill for the Armagh and Galway game, and I said before that, Jacqui, that I had a funny feeling Armagh had one eye on the Galway game and 2 eyes on the Tyrone game, their first game in the athletic grounds as All-Ireland champions. And it didn't take me long to figure out that that was the case. I thought their performance in Galway, whilst it started well, they appeared disjointed. They were ill-disciplined, which is very unlike them. And Galway won at their ease. Whereas in the athletic grounds on Saturday night, it was a power-packed Armagh performance right from the start. They were up to the speed. They were up for the game, highly motivated. And apart from being up for it and being aggressive and all those things you'd expect, their teamwork and their communication on the pitch and the way they work together was as good as I've seen from an Armagh team in a long time, both attacking ways and defensively. So the one pulling up, Tyrone was coming back at them surely, but it turned out to be an easy victory for Armagh, and not too many would have predicted that at the start of the game.
It's probably what we needed to see from them, Mikey, though. Just a nice little reminder that, hey, we haven't gone away, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I made the point on Thursday's podcast that I really thought this was one for Tyrone, with a former member of the FRC managing them, and then Kieran McGuinness, who had looked a little bit bemused by a couple of the rule decisions the week before. You kind of thought Tyrone are going to be slick, they're going to be set up for this. But McGuinness embraced the new rules, and he brought, as I think a lot of people suspected, Ethan Rafferty came back in. And there's probably, we mentioned at the start, there's probably a lot of teams using the 13v12, you know, kind of not fantastically well. They're kind of just, there's a goalkeeper occupying space. You'd some teams with a goalkeeper standing on the edge of the square, like not being passed the ball and not being marked. Everybody knew he was a decoy. He was just there. That was happening in a few games.
That causes carnage, though, doesn't it?
I know, but it was happening in a few games. Ethan
Yeah.
Rafferty's getting the ball. He scored 5 points. He kicked two pointers. This, if there's a goalkeeper, well, he's a converted midfielder, but he was a goalkeeper before the new rules. If there's a goalkeeper around who are going to benefit from this rule, there was two of them in action in that game, and you know, surprisingly, Niall Morgan didn't score, but Ethan Rafferty, like 5 points, like that's huge. That was the winning of the game, like from a goalkeeper. Amazing.
Yeah. And I still think Morgan, though, Peter, is like, as the year goes on, he's still the best at that offering. Like, I think Tyrone are going to get a massive amount from him going forward, doing exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it depends on how teams set up. You know, I spoke about how Derry put the high press on Kerry because they wanted to do it then, because they knew if they sat back, then they were inviting the Kerry goalkeeper on and they were a man short. So, you know, I thought at times maybe Tyrone were very quick just to sit back, and that invited, instead of pushing up and being aggressive in with Armagh's defenders by sitting back, it allowed their goalkeeper to come forward, in this case Ethan Rafferty, and he made the most of that. From a Tyrone perspective, it's very seldom you see Niall Morgan under so much pressure from his own kickouts. Armagh wiped the floor with him in the first half. He was kicking again a breeze, but again, with the new rule, the 40-metre arc, it's much more difficult to try and get those short kickouts away to secure possession that you badly need. He was forced to kick long, and Armagh had the numbers and the hunger underneath the breaks to clean up. So it presents serious questions to goalkeepers, these new rules. And against Derry, Niall was superb, and on Saturday night he struggled.
Yeah. Long year yet, though. I have no panic, I suggest, in the Tyrone quarters. What about in Mayo then, Peter? Because I think it's just the manner of their defeat at the weekend. You know, it's not often they get beaten by Galway like that at home, 10 points, you know, a man sent off. Just like there's something not right there.
That's your opinion, Jacqui, is it?
Just even looking in, like it's just very rare you see them playing like that, where they just look like they don't have a plan.
In fairness to Kevin McStay, I would say in Division 1, there's probably two teams that are really trying out a lot of players and are minus a lot of their leaders, and that's Dublin and Mayo. They are blooding a lot of young players, and they're finding it difficult. They're coming into a team and they're playing to new rules as well, which is difficult. So, and the other thing to bear in mind, that this is a Galway team, Jacqui, that in many people's eyes are, you know, future All-Ireland champions, should have won it last year. And if Shane Walsh, one player, if they had got the performance out of him in the All-Ireland final, half as good at the weekend, they would have won. And on free kicks alone, they would have won. And that was minus Rob Finnerty, who went off after 10 minutes in the All-Ireland final. So you're talking about, and I've seen it last week with Galway as well, when they turned the screw on Armagh in the second half, Armagh couldn't win their own kickouts because Galway had a line of big men across the middle, very good on the breaks. And of all the teams in Division 1, I think they're the best team at kicking 2-pointers. And Mayo felt that as well. So I do expect more from Mayo. There's no doubt about that. And when they get some of their more established players back, I think you'll see better Mayo performances. And I think we've witnessed with Mayo in previous years whereby they've had very good leagues and very strong and getting everybody to believe that they're going to do big things, and they're flattered to deceive. So maybe coming in underneath the radar is not a bad thing from a Mayo point of view. And the big one is going to be the Connacht Championship for them, no doubt.
Yeah, but before that, do you expect, they're in a bit of a relegation battle already,
Yeah, it's a massive game now for Tyrone, because it's going to put leave one of them on the bottom of the table. It'll be not from 3 if Mayo don't win. So absolutely, already third game in, and that's a massive one for deciding whether or not they're going to remain in Division 1. So there's going to be serious questions asked of them, no doubt.
Yeah, big time. All right, look, we'll leave the football there for now. Best of luck over the coming weeks. I'm sure you'll have a lot of people in your corner saying, Peter, what about this? What about this? What about this? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So Peter, thanks a million for being with us.
No problem, Jacqui. Thanks, Mikey.
He hits it! He hits it! It's over the bar! Oh, holy Moses!
All right, Shane is with us now to chat hurling. And I think even when you're just looking at the results, there's one that stands out, Shane. And I know it's Division 1B, but I think we have to start with Carlow beating Waterford 221 to 119. Their first ever senior competitive win against Waterford. And I know in the grand scheme of the year, this may not be talked about as one of the seismic moments, but it does feel like when we're constantly trying to talk about hurling getting airtime and moving other teams forward, this is a moment that should be celebrated.
Yeah, definitely, Jacqui. And I think even it builds on what happened in May last year when they drew with Kilkenny. And maybe for a lot of non-hurling people, they might realise the significance of the result, but that's probably the greatest result in Carlow's hurling history, the 11th of May 2024. And what they've done this year is they've built on that. They've said, right, that wasn't just a once-off. And they've built on it, and they drew with Offaly last week, who are, Joe McDonough champions, gone up into Liam McCarthy. And this week now they've bet Waterford. Now, I know Waterford they're realistically probably without maybe 10 or 11, 12, but at the same time, history was made for what Carlow did at the weekend. First time ever beating Waterford. So they can only play what's in front of them. And they did play it. And, it wasn't a smash and grab kind of victory, if you know what I mean, Jacqui. It was they were the better team overall on the day. They started very well. They absorbed a bit of pressure that Waterford threw at them throughout the game, and they finished the game very, very strongly as well. And Chris Nowlan got 2-3, but what I think people need to realise is they're not just dependent on one player now anymore. It's not just Mouse Kavanagh, or it's not one or two guys. They have good players all around the field. And even interestingly, on the other day, the impact they got off the bench, from 2 of their subs, they got 3 points from play from 2 of their subs. And we'd normally associate that maybe in the top tier with the likes of the Limericks and maybe the Corks at the moment, and the Clares, where the strength and depth they have in their panel. But, Carlow are in that bracket now, in that if they're getting that impact off the bench against, a top tier team, well, then they obviously have a good panel. They have a good strength and depth. And look, they've done, Colm Bonner did great work with them, and I know Colm had a hard time with Tick, and I suppose it's a results driven thing. But Colm did great work with Carlow, and I know they've great time for him down there. But Tom Mullally has taken that on now and taken it to another level. And for people that might know Tom Mullally, he's a Kilkenny man, so he comes from an environment where winning is just expected, Jacqui. And he's been involved with Mount Leinster Rangers down there. He took them to Leinster Championship in 2013, and they lost to Port Tumnad in. But he's a guy who knows the culture down there. He knows a lot of these players. And as I said, I think he's instilled a belief in them now that, we can go and be competitive. And the thing from now, Jacqui, is go on now and back it up. And try and I think they should really aim for top 3 in that league. Obviously, people will look at Dublin and Waterford as being the 2 strongest, but they should push on, aim for top 3, and set them up unreal then for Joe McDonough.
Yeah, and to be honest, Mikey, that's what it is. It's actually for them to be able to say these are markers on their journey. Shane is very realistic about saying targeting top 3. It's not necessarily saying, okay, we're going to win this league, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's actually what's the next milestone that this team can aim for? A draw with Kilkenny, beating Waterford for the first time, having a right cut off at Dublin or someone like that. It's actually the work that's consistently going on in the background to be able to give them realistic markers that they can aim for.
Absolutely. And they're probably, promotion might be a bit beyond them. But at the same time, when you look at that division, like there's 4 or 5 teams there who are going to take points off each other. Like, it's
Hmm.
not. I don't see even Dublin like walking away with this league. Waterford are obviously probably going to start getting some of their frontliners back as it goes on. That's going to benefit them and give them a chance. But Antrim, Offaly, there's a lot like points could go anywhere here. This could be a lot of people say the Championship in England is far more entertaining than the Premier League because it's unpredictable. Division 1B of the hurling could be that way this year because you really don't know who's going to take points off who. There's already been a couple of results that nobody would have predicted, probably involving Carlow. A lot of people would have fancied Offaly to win that first day as well. And the thing to say about Carlow hurling as well is that you're talking about 6 clubs.
Yeah.
My in-laws are from Graignamanagh, which is just the other side of the river from Carlow. Like there's 6 clubs and they are in a very small area. They're all around each other. Mount Leinster Rangers, St Mullins, Naibreed. These clubs are all around Ballymurphy, St Mullins. Just that corner of Carlow. And either St Mullins or Mount Leinster Rangers have won every Carlow senior hurling title since 2009. Like it's a small playing pool. It's a very small playing pool. But Shane would know better than me. What they lack in quantity, they definitely gain in just absolute zealotry and love of hurling, and it's the only show in town on the side of that mountain, and they are so committed. Firstly, probably to their clubs, but when the intercounty season comes around, like they bought in, and as Shane said, they just need a target. They need something identifiable, something achievable, and once they have that, they have the right manager in place, and they have the core players that I like. They probably won't win promotion, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the shake-up in the last round.
Yeah, well, they should feel that they are, and every child in the county should be walking around carrying a hurley based on the back of those kind of results that definitely stand out to children. You mentioned Offaly and Antrim, both of them obviously winning at the weekend. Antrim 225 against Westmeath 119, and Offaly 124 against Laois's 115. I am conscious that we've got a lot to get through in Division 1 as well. So let's go to that. 3 results, Cork 116, Limerick 116, under the lights in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Galway against Kilkenny, a goal in it, 219 for Galway, 119 for Kilkenny, and Tip 122, Wexford 19 points. Probably Shane, the game of the weekend, Kilkenny, Galway, just, I guess, maybe the performance that was coming there that we were waiting for to be delivered from Galway. It seemed like there was a lot of elements of, there was a heavy pitch. It's February. It's not always the easiest time to watch hurling, but they made a good go of it at the weekend.
That they did, yeah. But it was chalk and cheese now from the Tip game, Jacqui, and you can I think there was 11 changes altogether.
Yeah.
There was 10 changes, but then there was 11 for a finish because Oisin Lohan couldn't make the team, and he was very good against Tip. For example, they only kept 2 of the starting 6 backs from the Tip game, and they were Fintan Burke and TJ Brennan. And so, I think Micheal was just looking for. I think regardless of the result, I think he just wanted a better performance, and he got that in spades. Gavin Lee was unbelievable at centre back, and because Gavin Lee was unreal at centre back and Pádraig Mannion was unreal at wing back, the quality ball that was going in to the lads inside, and they just described to people. So I was down doing the radio. Galway went 2v2 inside, and they just kind of left a lot of space. And one of those 2v2s was Mikey Butler against Declan McLaughlin, and Declan McLaughlin comes away with 2-2 from play. Now, anybody that scores 2-2 from play off Mikey Butler,
Yeah.
they've had a good day out, but it was because of the quality of ball was coming into him. Now, he held his own as well, to be fair to him, and he'll take great confidence from it. And I'm sure Mikey Butler will look at it as a learning for him, even where he's at with his career and the standard he holds himself to. But big thing for me, and I think it was mentioned actually Sunday night, Jacqui, as well, was I've been down in Nowlan Park with teams, involved myself as well, and can you get a run in you? More often than not, you just can't get it back. You can't get it back because they're just so good at home. The crowd gets behind them. They just use that home advantage to the max. And Kilkenny hit Galway for 1-6. So at one stage of the game, it's 215 to 13 points. Kilkenny get 1-6 in a row. It's now 215 to 119, and Galway are gone down a point. But Galway's reaction to that was they scored 4 points in a row. I think that shows good character, and you really only get that from the more experienced guys. The younger guys or the less experienced lads, more often than not, they'll probably fold under that pressure. But when you have the likes of Pádraig Mannion, Fintan Burke, Gavin Lee being exceptional, as I said, move up along the field in, and Jason Flynn came on, he took over the free taking duty, and he absolutely nailed every one of them. There was no waver of the ball at all, and there was a nice breeze down there. And I think that's the big thing that Micheal and the management team will get out of Jacqui, is that there's a bit of character in this group, and there's a bit of resilience in them, there's a bit of resolve. Yeah, we got the win, it's brilliant, but you know what, I have something to build on here. And I think what you'll see from now on maybe is the spine of the team mightn't change too much. You might have Fintan Gavin Lee, midfielder, centre forward, full forward, and he's going to say, right, let's build around these guys and see where it takes us. But look, massive result for them. I suppose myself included, we didn't know where they were going to go after week one, Jacqui. We were nearly putting them into relegation, and now we're looking at them saying, get more lads back, get a bit of belief in the system that they have. And, as I said, it's a long-term project from Micheal, lads. It's a 4-year contract, I believe he has. But as I've said already, if he doesn't get short-term results, he mightn't be allowed to fulfill that 4-year contract. Yeah. That's just the nature of the game.
That's the funny thing in inter-county management. But Shane is right, Mikey, because even last week when we were chatting here after that performance against Tipperary, 2 of the notes that we had discussed and I had written down was character and spine. And Shane has answered both of them. And I know it is very early, but actually identifying what is the new spine of this Galway team? What does it look like without some of those mainstays that he has maybe relied on? We talked about some of the players that maybe Micheal has lost over the winter or let go. And there's definitely a new identity, but I think he's getting a little closer to what it might look like based on the weekend.
Certainly. Yeah, certainly. Like there's a couple there you probably were you knew you could rely on at either end in Fintan Burke and Conor Whelan, obviously, like absolute mainstays. But then it is that the kind of despite the middle of it there, and you'd always say if you get your 6 right, you build from there. And Gavin Lee, it was just an incredible performance. Like it was the anticipation. It was just it was kind of one of those performances you never really seemed to see him sprinting. He was always just where the ball was going to be, which is just an amazing skill to have and an absolute requirement in 6. And then Monaghan in midfield obviously was fantastic as well. And then when you're able to throw in a guy like McLaughlin who scores 2-2, it's like that's just bonus. That's just the cherry on the top. That's the kind of thing that makes Micheal Donoghue, like that must have been what there's probably certain performances he expected to get there and was hoping to get, but then for 2-2 from McLaughlin off Mikey Butler, like that just had to be, he can't have expected that. That just, I can just imagine how happy he was going back on the bus after that, because that's the garnish that he needed. And, I fear for Kilkenny, they have to go to Wexford Park now at the weekend, and, they always struggle against, the mighty men of the southeast who are, a little short on players. But, I think relegation for Kilkenny now, Jacqui, I think it's going to be grim times for them.
Well played for your county men who are struggling themselves after they got another beating at the weekend. I maybe just do that game and then we'll do the Cork Limerick game. We'll finish off on that, Shane, because I think probably for Wexford we can already see at this stage they're struggling already. You do start to feel like maybe unless they can get something from that Kilkenny game, they're going to be in a different place. For Tipperary though, I guess it's just a sense of what are they learning week on week? Because no more than what we were saying about Galway, it looks like Tipperary are finding a new identity there as well. And it's definitely something that's working for this team that maybe has been missing in the last 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, so I suppose they've been asked 2 questions so far, Jacqui. Can they go up to Galway and beat Galway? And they did that. Can they beat Wexford at home? And they did that. They've had a host of new guys making their debut for Tip who've come in and done well. They have Shamey Kendi back starting their wing back on Sunday. John McGrath coming off the bench. Jason Ford gets 45, 50 minutes into the legs as well. So I don't know. I don't think Tip can do any more than what they've done. I suppose what I'm trying to say is that they've answered both the questions. I suppose the big test for them is coming now at the weekend against Limerick. Yeah. And we would have seen like maybe a few guys didn't feature yesterday or weren't maybe asked to even talk yesterday, that they're obviously going to feature against Limerick, because that's still the barometer for me. Like that's where you're at. You're going in playing Limerick in Limerick. If you can get something out of that, and I think result regardless, get a performance out of it. Get the likes of Darren McCarthy, get the likes of Sam O'Farrell and these guys, Dylan Walsh maybe as well. Get them in Limerick, get them a real test. Get them Martin Garrod, Hegarty, Keane Lynch. Maybe picking up, having to mark Sean Finn, Barry Nash, Barry Murphy, one of these guys. I think you'll just learn so much out of that. And if you can get anything out of it in, Jacqui, the confidence you have in yourself afterwards to say, because we've all gone through it in our careers, I'm sure that, you kind of feel, right, I did okay in that match. They were missing a good few. Did okay in that match. We were expected to win that match. Now here's a match coming where everyone's going to expect Limerick to beat Tip. It's on in the Gaelic grounds as well. You can see Limerick are, they're going strong at the league. They did 8 or 9 of their top 15 guys on the pitch there at the weekend. So I think Tip will really know this time next week maybe where some of these newer guys are. and how they're performing. And I don't think Tip can do any more than what they've done, and I think they can't wait to go in and play Limerick. Realistically, everyone will expect Limerick to win that match, and rightly so. In regards to Wexford, Jacqui, quickly, I just think they're missing so many bodies. But was there an improvement from the first day? There was 100%. They need to get those more senior guys back. I believe they are maybe going to have 1 or 2 more senior guys back for Kilkenny. They'll need them, because realistically, if they don't win this game or get something over Jacqui, they are looking at relegation.
Yeah, I agree. Lastly, then Cork Limerick. You said Limerick are still the barometer. I think Cork always felt they were the barometer as well. And I was just listening to Pat Ryan's comments after the weekend, and even though Cork didn't win, a draw, I mean, obviously they would have felt a draw at home against Limerick. If you probably would have taken that at any stage of the year that it was offered to you. But I think it's the manner of it. Just listen to him saying that previously against a Limerick team, when they went behind and they were scrambling, they might not have got anything out of the game. But he was talking about the character of his own team, that they fought back to get a draw. And it'll tell you everything, that you're Cork and you're hosting somebody in your backyard and you're happy to get out of there with a draw, because Limerick are still the barometer, even for a man like him.
Limerick are still the barometer. I think Limerick will be better this year than what they were last year, because I think the likes of Adam English now is of age to be in the starting 15. Cathal O'Neill is coming back from an injury there at the moment. Paddy O'Donovan put his hand up the other day with 4 points. Barry Nash will be back from injury. And I just think, Shane O'Brien is a year older now and really wants to be established on the team as well. So I think that with the likes of them guys coming in and guys coming back from injury, I think Limerick will be better this or last year. And I don't know if people might find it hard to believe, but I really do. I think Limerick and Cork now are developing a really good rivalry. It was it was so close the other day. Like, Cork took 18 shots from play, Limerick took 17 shots from play. Even on the yellow cards count, it was nearly 50-50. Cork had 5, Limerick had 6. Like, as regards, scores, Cork had 7 scores, Limerick had 8 scores. So it was a very, very even game in difficult conditions. So I think what Cork have now, Jacqui, maybe that's what they didn't have before, maybe not last year, but in previous years, we all know the talent they have. The talent they have is unbelievable at the moment. I could name lads who aren't making Cork panels who would be on majority of other inter-county panels in the country. But that's just the talent Pat Ryan has at the moment. I believe that if Cork can actually make a breakthrough, Jacqui, and win an All-Ireland, they could go on to dominate the thing for 2 or 3 years. Such is the talent they have. But what I'm saying is, what they have now is they have that bit of steel, that bit of resilience, that bit of character that maybe teams previously to them didn't have. That they don't mind mixing it up physically now. They have the guys to do that, and then they have the hurling to back it up. But I was most impressed with the physicality. They didn't irk from it. They didn't shy back from any tackle, and that's evident from the yellow cards that were being thrown out. But they wanted to put down a little bit of a marker the other day. I think these two teams are going to have 2-3 serious battles before this year is out. And I think, as I say, rivalry, and we got a nice little taster of it there the other night. So sure, Pat Ryan will be happy. I'm sure John Kyle will be happy as well, to be honest, with the characters he has to come back onto the pitch. Like,
yeah, and I know, Mikey, there was a bit of furore about, is it on telly, is it not on telly? There was all this talk about it. It wasn't exactly the fireworks that people were hoping for after all that, but as Shane said, it was a nice little taster of 2 teams that have built up quite the rivalry over the last few years.
Yeah, I know Shane won't agree with me, but I think even on the fantastic pitch that is Park Equi, February hurling is rarely what we, it's red meat, but it's not exactly the fine fare we're looking forward to later in the summer. But sure, anyway, there was TV cameras there, but they missed the most important part altogether, and we'll have to wait and see now whether the GAA's disciplinary systems can stand up to using a fan's iPhone footage or not. Jamie Flanagan obviously will be hoping they can't. But
that will be interesting, by the way, if they can do that, because I think that is going to change an awful lot of what happens for spectators.
It's a can of worms. It's a can of worms.
It is. It really is.
Them phones are causing some hassle, lads. People can't do that anymore.
That's the end of it. Right. Come here. Unfortunately, we don't have another 20 minutes to get into that can of worms, but I think maybe that's something that we might be coming back to later in the week anyway, because it'll be interesting to see what happens with the GAA and what they tend to do. Shane, as always, thanks a million for your thoughts, and enjoy the games. Where are you off to next weekend?
I don't know. Barry will let us know there soon, I'm sure. So hoping it won't be too far and a good game. That's the plan.
Good. Well, hopefully a good game all around. We will be back on Thursday then to preview all of the weekend's hurling action. Until then, from all of us here, don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll talk to you soon.
Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it! It's over the bar!